But Rob, for now, let's go to some baseball. And what a year we are having. My goodness. A lot of great stories going on, but none greater, I'd say, than the chance that we might see something, Rob, that we haven't seen in 91? Is my math right? 91 years? Do you know what it is?
What? 2 Triple Crown winners?
2 Triple Crown winners in the same season. Last time it was done, 1933. Chuck Klein, Philadelphia Phillies in the NL, and Jimmy Fox, Philadelphia Athletics in the AL. And now, Rob, Aaron Judge of the Yankees leads the American League in everything: batting average, home runs, RBI. Right. And Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers in the NL leads the NL in home runs and batting average.
Not RBI,
and is
though, right?
third in RBI, but he's only 4 back. So, what do you think? This is awesome, man. And it's also 2 of the flagship franchises
LA
on
and New
both
York.
coasts. Right. Like, I mean, you couldn't ask for more than this.
No. The only thing you could ask, Chris, is those 2 teams meet in the World Series. Like, that would be for baseball.
That would be
Dodgers
fantastic.
and
You're right.
Yankees.
And there's obviously a chance of that.
They're both really good teams.
You're right. That would be great.
And the Dodgers and Yankees haven't met, Chris, in the World Series since 1981. It's been a long time.
I remember that.
But this is
Fernando. Fernando Valenzuela.
this is the thing that was a Fernando mania. Chris was wild.
Oh, it was crazy.
People were like, I remember going to when he first pitched at Shea Stadium as a kid. And, the Mets were a terrible team, Chris. They sold out the night that he pitched.
No, it was huge, Rob.
That was the walk-up of people going, I want to watch this guy pitch.
Yeah, and then, again, we've talked about baseball was the biggest sport at that time. And so, now, of course, a lot of the national focus is on football and basketball. But at that time, it was just as much, if not more, on baseball. And so Valenzuela was huge, huge star.
He really was. And this is something. I mean, Aaron Judge, Chris, he has like 80 RBIs. Chris.
It's crazy.
He has like 80. So he's on pace right there, right around the halfway point of the
He's at 83 right now.
He's got 83 RBIs. He's going to have 160?
What's the record? Do you know?
I think it was Hack Wilson, Chris, 190.
Okay. Way back.
Let me look it up. I want to make sure. But it's Hack Wilson. I know it's Hack Wilson. I'm not sure the number, Chris. I want to say 190.
Okay.
Okay. But this is something to watch these guys perform. And it would have been interesting, Chris, had they both been in the same league. Because, the only 2 guys
Hack Wilson, 191.
See, I was pretty good. That's not bad off the top of my head. 191.
Lou Gehrig second, 185.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible Hack Wilson. How do you have Chris? And that was in 154 games, right?
Right. Back
191.
In the day, that's when a lot of the records were. No, it's crazy. Yeah, 1930.
But Aaron Judge and what he's done, and Shohei quietly, the Dodgers are a little understated, Chris. They were supposed to be the Beatles. They played well to start. Mookie got hurt. Like they're winning. They're 20 games over 500 and whatnot. But they're a little understated. But not Shohei.
Well, the record is basically the same as the Yankees.
Right. But it's different.
And in baseball, it's just.
But I'm saying the expectations for the Dodgers were bigger. Would you admit that?
But do you think? Well,
I'm talking about going into the
roster
season.
is incredible.
Right.
But just, this, knowing baseball, I just don't think that with the nature of the sport, I just don't think you can say, oh, they've got, 5 all-star hitters in their lineup. They're going to be, you can say they're going to win the division. They're going to be great and have a chance to win the World Series. But it doesn't mean I'm expecting them to win 116 games. You know what I mean?
And
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the hard part in baseball because, as you know, if you don't have pitching, Chris, in the postseason, it doesn't matter. If you don't get timely hitting, it's not about scoring 13 runs. It's about getting 2-out knocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Hit a sacrifice fly with a man on third to get him in with less than 2 outs. Things like that you have to be able to do. But this is incredible to see because I was saying Shohei and Judge have been in the American League, Chris, when he played for the Angels, right? So Shohei's won a MVP, then Judge won, and Shohei won. And now they're in separate leagues. So now both of them could be the MVP, and they're not competing against each other on that because they're in different leagues. But both have put together unbelievable years. Judge's year is crazy because Shohei has what, Chris? You got his number 26 home runs?
27.
27. Judge has 33? 32.
Judge the big difference is Judge's RBI.
Yeah, it's 80 to what?
83, 64. Shohei's got 64. The leader in the AL or NL, I think, has 68.
So yeah, he's not out of the RBI league.
No,
he's right there.
It's an interesting question and I don't know if there's even an answer, to be honest, because which one's more impressive? I think Shohei, if I had to, Judge, they both have a great shot at doing it. But I will say this, Rob, Shohei has been more consistent. He's from the entire season, he's been doing the same thing. He actually had the same number of homers and RBI in each of the first, like in March and April, and then in May, and now in June he he hit like 12, so he kind of upped it. But he's been consistent, and we know Judge had the slow start,
had a bad,
and
April.
Now has been
April.
Historically great.
Chris,
over the last 50 games. It's ridiculous.
He's like batting almost 400 the last 50 games. That's a huge sample size.
But if you ask me to bet on one to win it, I think I might say Shohei, just because he has been this consistent the entire season, whereas Judge was started slowly, has been phenomenal, like you said, 50 games or so. But will he hit another slump?
That's fair, and Shohei has been more consistent. But the stretch that Judge has had, like that April, you remember, Chris, he got booed at Yankee Stadium. Remember, he got booed.
Right.
It was so bad, and people were like, "What's wrong with Judge?" Remember, he was hurt a little bit in spring training, so people were like, "He's entered the season, he wasn't really 100%."
Right.
But we've talked about this on this show a million times. When he's healthy, he's as good as anybody's ever played the game. When he's healthy, it's the only thing that's
hard to argue that.
Right, that only thing that this guy is playing, Chris, center field every day in the major leagues, in a league where people don't hit over 300 anymore. Right, he hits for average, for power. He drives in runs. He's been incredible.
He looks like Barry Bonds looked in those years when he was just off the charts. And we know Bonds was juiced. And Judge, presumably is doing it clean.
Right. They test everybody. Incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's a big difference between now and back then. Because, Chris, if you remember, because you did some of the they weren't testing guys.
No,
they weren't testing.
I did the McGuire Sosa.
Oh, that's what. Sorry, that's right. You did that one, right?
They both hit over 60 that year, right? 98, I think it was. Yeah, 98. And
that was incredible that year. But this could wind up being one of the years for the ages, because just like we talked about, you said how many years? 90 some odd years?
Since 1933. And in the National League, Rob, no one's won the Triple Crown since 1937.
That's crazy.
So what's that? 80 something years.
Now, who's the last in the American League? Miguel Cabrera, 2012?
Cabrera in 2012, yep.
Now, I remember that one very vividly because they wanted to give Mike Trout the MVP that year, saying he had more walks and on base. And I was like, Ain't no way, Chris.
Was that an analytics driven?
Yes, it was analytics against the,
right.
traditional
Well, that's
writers.
the thing.
And guess what? The traditional writers won out.
Right.
How are you going to be a Triple Crown winner, Chris, and not win the MVP?
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. And let me ask you that. That's a good point. Do you feel like, as a guy that's still, very involved in MLB, has I know it's going to be phenomenal if they do it, or even if one of them does it, and it will be celebrated. But among the caretakers of the game, and I'm particularly talking about the younger ones,
right?
Has the Triple Crown lost a little significance to these analytic writers? Because batting average, they don't view it like
don't care about,
it's been viewed historically, right?
Right. Yeah, you know what? That vote, and remember, I was saying that the analytical people, Chris, and the traditional.
Yep.
It wasn't a 50-50 vote or straight vote. You know what I mean? Like they had to. There were guys who crossed over who voted for Miguel in order for him to win. It wasn't like strictly down party lines, so to speak. So that gave me some encouragement that there were analytical people who were like, a Triple Crown is a Triple Crown. And for a guy today where so many people don't hit 300, he's not just swinging for the fences every at bat. He's driving in runs. He's getting doubles, Chris. He's cashing in. What don't you like? And how could you vote against a guy who leads the league in all these categories?
Well, and I think, Rob, and look, I get the analytics, and it's all about what contributes to winning and all that. But as you know, baseball, what they call it, an individual team sport.
Right.
And batting average tells you a lot. Batting average still is one of the greatest measures of whether or not a guy is a good, great, or bad hitter. I mean, it's literally how often you get a base hit. And that matters. I mean, I get it that a walk is as good as a single, but that because you walk a lot doesn't mean you're as good of a base hitter or a hitter as the guy that hits 330.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so for individual awards, like I do think the value to me of batting average is still what it once was, because that's how I know this dude is a great hitter. I can look at on base percentage separately as well.
No,
but don't tell me the guy that walks a lot is as valuable or as good as the guy that might not walk quite as much but hits for a higher batting average.
Chris, I'll give you the perfect example, and that's why I'm not all in on the walk. Joey Votto walked a lot with Cincinnati, a great on-base percentage. But there are at-bats in games, Chris, when I need Joey Votto to swing the bat.
Right.
I don't want you to leave to take a walk so that the next guy can make out and we don't get the guy in from third or from second.
Absolutely.
So there are times when I'm okay if you don't walk. Take a shot at it. I need an RBI single. I need a double. I need a run-in. Don't just take the walk because they really don't want to pitch to you, so I'm not going to go the other way, pitch with Chris, with the pitch on the outside corner. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. So I think that is misleading to say, well, he gets on base. No, I don't. I need you to drive the run in.
Yep.
We're down by one.
I agree. I totally agree. All right.